Hello everyone, and welcome to the first segment of Timewalking. Today we're gonna cover years 1993 and 1995. So let's start. We are in year 2015, where we have a huge amount of different formats, many cards, different ways to play the game, and everything is nice, not really. People are still going to bits about stuff. And let's go 22 years down in the past and see what Magic was all about when it got started. So, starting in 1993, we are talking about a different game here. Let's start and see where we go. So, the first official DCI tournament took place on Gen Con in 1993. And back then the sets you had were only a very small amount. I think they were only 4. We have Alpha, Beta, Unlimited and Arabian Nights close to the end of 1993. I think it was December. And we have Alex Paris playing against Rick Townsend. The first one was piloting a Celestia deck which had Script Sprites, Giant Spider and Circle Protection Red for some reason, and the other guy had a Rakdos deck featuring goblins and basically monster goblin raiders, Unholy Strength, Okishura Flam and Juggernaut, Dark Ritual, Disintegrate Terror, Sun Rain and all this fun stuff. And noting Orgisoli Flam back in the day only costed 1 colorless and 1 red. So this is pretty fun, right? Yeah, not quite. The game was a totally different thing back then. And yes, these decks were weak. We will explain a little bit why. But you can see how people in the past thought what good decks would look like. So starting, let's go to the rules of 1993, which was completely different. So, first of all, we had no stack. There was no stack. We just had some fast effects, interactions, and even the first rule book was getting you not to play a lot of spells because it would get confusing. Moving on, we had creatures, as you know, for those of you who play Commander and have vault cards, were not creatures, they were summon spells. Also, we have, back in 1993, there was no limit in how many times you can have a card in your deck, where today you can have only lands anytime you want, basic lands, but then you could have like 20 Black Lotuses, 1 Fireball and 20 Channel and have a deck like that. So there was that. Also, you could run any amount of cards in your deck, but you can only rack 40 cards, which was logical because you had only 4 sets, so that was the thing. Another big thing, there was no combat phase, there was untap, upkeep. There was a main phase, which also had all of the combat phase in it mixed into it. And there was no cleanup step, there was only an end step back in the day. Also, another big difference, the artifacts had types back then. And no, I don't mean artifact creatures and stuff or equipment, I mean actual types. So there was mono, continuous and poly. Mono are the artifacts that with each day have the tap ability to activate. Poly artifacts have the ability to activate without being tapped. Pretty much artifacts that have a continuous ability you can use some mana to activate today. And continuous artifacts were artifacts with a static effect, say like Witchbane Orb. Also, there was no instance. There was some kind of instance, but most thing you saw was interrupts. Interrupts were actually faster than instants, and only interrupts could respond to interrupts, which was kind of confusing, I guess. And counter spells were also interrupts and were faster than instants. So back in the day they had sorceries, interrupts and instants, and interrupts were the fastest ones, so you couldn't respond to them. It's like they had split second, but then again you didn't even have a stack back then. So another thing is that there was no mulligan rule back in the day. So you drew your hand, you kept it, you couldn't edge at all. And also the first player didn't draw a card. Another thing which was really weird is that you didn't die from life loss until the phase was over. So you could kill yourself with a city of brass and then switch life totals with a mirror universe. Which was like, okay, I guess it was kind of weird. And also one very important thing which we'll see in the decks, especially from 1994, is that blockers that were tapped, so let's say now you block, you tap your blocker to activate an ability, and the combat still happens. Back in the day when the blocker was tapped, he dealt no damage, so cards like Twinkle or Ice Manipulator were much more powerful. Also we have that originally tapped artifacts lost all their abilities. So for example, if you tap with the rock, you still get to untap your lands, but that's when the Wither Rock hasn't changed even in the Oracle text, so that's a thing. And that was really confusing. I mean, we had an artifact with the static ability. If it was tapped, you could no longer use it. It's very well. Imagine, so it is still applied. You had the Witchbane orb that gives you Hexproof. You tap the orb from something, and now you don't have Hexproof anymore. Really weird. Also, another very interesting thing is that originally nothing could respond to triggered abilities. So, for example, you could respond to Terror, but you could respond to Necrotas triggered ability, which was really weird. Also, there was no stack, as I already said, and damage prevention was different at that point. It was really weird because it was creating something that you could respond to. It was called the damage prevention bubble, and so it was taking place in a different step on its own. It was really weird. And also, originally only permanents that could have upkeep cost abilities would be played at some time during the upkeep. So what you could do is this allowed players to do things before upkeep abilities were triggered, because nothing could respond to triggered abilities at the time, and you locked down the upkeep pretty much, which is really dumb. And that changed later. And originally protection prevent all damage from a creature with trample, so that was also kind of weird. Those are the big things that we got to. Also, some cards were different and they would change later on, but yeah, pretty much this year didn't have anything regarding tournaments. I mean, the two decks I told you was the finals of the first DCI tournament, the first time you have the chance to see the game, so you understand why they were so bad. Although this also led to the restriction of the Moxen, because it was really easy to put 4 of them in your deck when you were building a deck, so it was really abused. And the funny thing is that Time World got banned eventually because we were abusing it with Animate Artifact and Instill Energy, which was really weird. So that's all for 1993. Let's move to 1994. So moving on to the future a little bit, from 1993 we go to 1994. Magic got a little bit more serious. You had more stuff to do. There were more, the Antiquities, Legends and the Dark were released before the first big world tournament. Fallen Empires was released on November of 1994. So let's talk about the first Magic World Championship. It was held at Gen Con in Wilakaue in the USA on the 19th to 21st of August 1994. It was the only World tournament which was held in the vintage format, because that was the only format back then. which was also known as it is today in some fashion Type 1. And it was not, today Worlds is an invite-only tournament where the best players or players that win Pro Tours get to go. Back in the day, anyone could go, at least in this tournament, but the tournament was capped at 512 participants. And after 2 days of single elimination play, because they didn't do Swiss back then, there was no Swiss, the final 4 players features Bernd Leslie, who defeated Cyril Defragout 2-0. Sorry for the pronunciation of the names, it's really difficult to pronounce French names. In his semi-final, and Zach Dolan, who defeated Dominic Siemens 2-0 in the other semi-final. In the finals, Dolan defeated Leslie 2-1. So, I mean, I told you already the sets names that were out. We will see some decklists in a moment, but we had some rules changes first. And we also get a restricted list for constructed. We'll go over it in a few seconds, and also got the banning of all ante cards. Okay, so let's take a look at the restricted list. We had Ancestral Record, Balak, Black Lotus, Black Vice, Brain Gazer, for some reason, Channel, Chaos Orb, Demonic Tutor, Fork, Library of Alexandria, Maze of Ith, Mind Twist, Mirror Universe, Mistress Workshop, Mox Emerald, Jet, all the Moxen, Power Artifact, Recall, Regrowth, Sahrazad, Sol Ring, Stream Mind, Time Vault, Time Walk, Time Twister, and Wheel of Fortune. So some still remain restricted to win this day. Some always remove them from the list because they're not as powerful as they used to be. So let's look at what rules changed from 1993. So we got the 4 of each card max except for basic lands in the deck. That was done in January 1994. So starting the new year, the Wizards decided to do many changes. And also minimum 60 card decks. Again, remember the artifacts and the types, they no longer have the types, it's a stop. With that change with the revised edition. And we have the first mulligan, because you needed to have something for the tournament. So the first mulligan is either the one known as no lands or all lands mulligan. So pretty much what you did is you show to your opponent your hand, and if they had either no lands or it was full of lands, you would then draw in your hand. But you can do this only once, so totally different mulligan than what we have today. Now let's see the decks. So Zach Dolan's then was a Troll deck, and Berners-Lee was a Zoo deck. So let's see the second player's deck first. So pretty standard Zoo deck. We had Kid Ape, which is good still today. We had Birds of Paradise, Argothian Pixies. Yes, the 2 mana 2/1 can be blown by artifacts. It doesn't damage from outfit because that was the thing. We had Whirling Dervish, the 2 mana 1/1 with the extra back. Pretty nice card. Of course, one of Ancestral Record because it was insane. One of Time was bonus insane. Control Magic was, I think, back in the day. Psionic Blast 2 because it was removal in blue, which it didn't have originally. We had Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Fireball because Fireball was really back in the day. Regrowth, Channel because Channel and Fireball can kill your opponent instantly. Mind Twist because it actually might be one of the best discard spells in the game. Demonic Tutor, Chaos Orb. I can't imagine how they play this card. I mean, really? Okay. Icy Manipulator, as we said, was insane because it tapped the blocker and it dealt damage, so it was kind of pseudo removal. One of Black Lotus, all Moxen, obviously. All 4 of the Moxen was, and running the white one actually because he was running no white cards. Then we had Mistress Factory 4 off, because why not? For Tigers, for Tropical Islands, for Volcanic Islands, 2 Baguio and 2 City of Brass, because City of Brass was a lot better back in the day. So for sideboard he had Sereny Befrit, because it's a pretty good flyer back in the day. Disintegrate for more removal, Life Force against blue decks, Tsunami also against blue decks, City in a Bottle, Flash Fires, Control Magic and Force Field. Force Field, I don't know why. So it was, even though he lost, his deck was like one of the more advanced decks for that day, especially because Pixies were really good against Juggernaut and Mistress Factory. And it's like an original win deck. Let's see now the stages control, like the good first place. It was a crazy brew. So we have Library of Alexandria, Savannah, Strip Mine, Tropical Island, Tundra. One of the first decks one of the best decks to feature Library of Alexandria, really broken card. Black Lotus, all of them Auction, Soul Ring and Mana Vault, all the artifact ramp. Birds of Paradise Clone, Lay Druids, Allman of the Sea, which was really insane. Sarah Angel, one of the best cards back in the day, was a rare. Time Elemental, because you could bounce stuff, I guess. Vesuvan Doppelganger, because it was really good back in the day. Ancestral Recall, Armageddon, Black Vice, obviously good. Control Magic, Disenchant, Howling Mine, Ice Manipulator, Ivory Tower, Kismet, Mana Drain, Mixstone, because there were a lot of artifacts back in the day. Recall, obviously. Regrowth, Siren's Call, Stasis, Swords Plowshares, Timewalk, Time Twister with the Raw Wrath of God. So crazy control deck with little creatures to win the game, but still a pretty decent deck. I think the Zoo deck was probably better. Now let's see the sideboard too for this deck. So Chaos Orb, Circle of Protection red deck and red decks, obviously. Copy Artifact, Diamond Valley, Flora's Poison, Idea of Chaos to make things really crazy, Karma, Kismet, Magical Hack, Power Sink, Presence of the Master, Revenge, Damage, Sleight of Mind, Winter Blast. So pretty crazy, bro, pretty crazy decks back in the day. There were also mono white decks with Crusade and Savannah Lions and Knights and stuff, or mono black decks with the other DG that deal 1 damage to you. Generally, back in the day, spells were really bomby and the creatures were really crappy, which is the reverse of today. And we have also some photos from the convention the tournament back then. You can see here, not at all like it is today. It was really organized. But isn't this nice? I mean, you get to see everything about Magic back in the day, and you see how it has evolved right now. It's insane. The amount of people that are playing right now are really, it's a really big amount. So yeah, and now Vintage is a format that's almost unapproachable unless you are willing to invest a lot of money. But back in the day, Black Lotus was the most expensive card. It was worth like $20 or something. I mean, duels were like $5 each. That's and today there was like a huge amount. So kudos to anyone playing back there. I know no one in my country would be playing back then. I mean, I'm doing this and I was never born back in the day, so it's really fun. That's what I love about Magic. You get to see all of the story, how the game evolved those years, and now have a very decent game with some flaws, but everything has flaws. So that's all for this first segment. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time for 1985. That will be in 2 weeks from now, probably. I will try to do it before the 14th of October because I'm gonna leave for 6 days, so no videos. And yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching again. Please subscribe and like our Facebook page and Twitter if you want, and see you around.